Assalamu alaikum guys. So in today's lecture, we are going to do a physics topic, modes of heat transfer. What are the modes of heat transfer or the type of heat transfer? Basically, there are three types or three modes of heat transfer. One is conduction, second is convection, and third is radiation. Let's start with conduction. Conduction is basically the transfer of heat due to the collision of molecules and movement of free electrons. Collision of molecules and movement of free electrons. Now, basically, conduction can happen in metals and in non-metals. So, in metals, conduction happens due to the collision of molecules. Collision of molecules. Now, in non-metals, it is a different case. Yeah, or about the same case, not the different case, of course. Non-metals, it happens due to the collision, but with it there is electron. The main thing, there is electron. So there is this thing and there are some electrons. So for example, the by the collision, let's suppose 3 joules of energy is transferred. So by the movement of electron, it will transfer 17 joules. Okay. Now, so hence, so hence it means that by this we can derive that by that metals are better thermal conductors, okay, than non-metals. Thermal conductors than non-metal. Okay. Now let's move on to the example. Okay. Let me draw it here. For example, this is, let's suppose, a hot body to which rods are attached. Okay. Like about the same size. Okay. This, it might look the same, but it is about the same size. Okay. Wait, let me check if I can. Yeah, I can increase the size. Place it off. Okay. Now this is a hot body. Okay. And to this wax is attached. Okay, wait, like, why is it? Leave it. Okay. Some wax is attached to it. Okay. To its bottom and to it, to this wax, wait, these balls are attached. Three balls. Basically, it is attached to these wax. Okay. So after some time, what we see is that from the second rod, the all three balls fell. From the third rod, only two balls fell, and from the first rod, only one ball fell. So what happened is that each each material has different thermal conductivity. Okay, thermal conductivity. Okay, so the more substance is conductive, it will gain more heat from this hot body. Okay, so when it will gain the heat, it will melt the wax, and eventually the balls will fall. So what happened is that this rod, the first rod, gained some heat, and from that heat, this part of the wax is melts and one ball falls. In the second, what happens that all the three ball fell means that the wax melts very, like, because means that this second one has greater thermal conductivity than the first one because all the three are fell. Well, in the second, we see that only two of the ball fell, so hence it has lower conductivity than the second one, but higher conductivity than the first one. Okay, but lower conductivity than the second one. So by this, we can say that different materials have different conductivity. okay, due to which the wax melted. Now let's go to convection. Convection is basically the transfer of heat due to the movement of molecules as an energy carriers. This example, what is happening that at the bottom there are some particles. When they are heated, what happens, like for example, the heat is given to them. What happens that they starts to expand, right? So basically they they had they had a lower density than the particles at the top, right? So if they have low density, what will happen that they will go up, okay, to the top. So these particles at the bottom will go to the top, okay, and there those particles which are at the top will come down at the bottom because their density is greater than these. Okay, so those which are denser will go at the bottom and those which are lighter go at the top. But after some time, what we will see that these particles also will lose, also will gain some heat energy when will have a lower density, and then these particles will again go up, and those which went up will come down. So by this, there's like for example a cycle which starts like, and this cycle is known as convection current. Okay, and due to this, all this thing happens. Okay, now we are done with convection basically. So let's do a recap of convection, that it's the transfer of heat due to the movement of molecules. Okay, movement of molecules as energy carriers. Okay, as energy carriers. So this is the definition. Now what is the cause of this convection? It is basically the difference in density. The cause is basically the difference in density. The common mode of in which this convection happens, it is basically fluids. Okay, convection mostly happens in fluids. Now let's move on to radiation. So what is radiation? Radiation is basically the transfer of heat in form of electromagnetic waves. Okay, transfer of heat in form of electromagnetic waves, and this mostly occurs in a vacuum. Okay, or and transparent materials. Okay, now how does it happens? That for example, this is a 1,000 degree. Some this place has 1,000 degree. In this in between there is a vacuum, and it's 0 degrees Celsius. The opposite side of this example. Now, how will this 1,000 degree heat will transfer to the 0 degree? It will be done by electromagnetic waves, which is radiation. Okay, this is radiation. Now, that's it for today, guys, and we are done radiation. We have done convection and conduction. So all three of the modes of heat transfer. So let's do a recap. Conduction is the transfer of heat due to the collision of molecules and movement of free electrons. Convection is the transfer of heat due to movement of molecules as an energy carriers, and radiation is the transfer of heat in form of electromagnetic waves. Okay, and conduction only happens in solids, convection only happens in fluids, and radiation happens in vacuum and transparent materials. Means that it does not need a medium. Okay, and can happen anywhere, but mostly where we see them, it vacuum and transparent material. The common mode of in which this convection happens, it is basically fluids. Okay, convection mostly happens in fluids. Now let's move on to radiation. So what is radiation? Radiation is basically the transfer of heat in form of electromagnetic waves. Okay, transfer of heat in form of electromagnetic waves, and this mostly occurs in a vacuum. Okay, although conduction is the slowest, but gives the largest amount of energy. Okay, okay. So although conduction is the slowest, it gives the largest amount of energy, while Radiation is the fastest but gives the lowest amount of energy. Now let's do it. Let me explain it with an example. Like for example, there are two people. Okay, two people. One person is, for example, counting $20, and he counts 10 notes in 1 minute, while the other person is counting $100, but counts only $5 in a minute. So this is conduction. This example goes to conduction. So although it's counting only 5 notes, but counts a total of $500, while this counts 10 notes but counts a total of only $200. Okay, so this is a big difference, and this is how it works. Now we are done with all those three, and that's it for today, guys. And I hope you like the lecture. And if anything you didn't understand, then you can comment on this video. Okay, so I will be really proud to have some comments, and will surely answer them as soon as I have the time to do it. Okay, so that's it for today, guys, and Allah Hafiz.